Thanks for joining our epic chat today. Really hope that everyone is staying safe and healthy, physically and mentally. Just really want you to know that we're in this together. My name is Jennifer Xu, and I'm the head of U.S. development at EPIC Foundation. And EPIC fights to change the lives of disadvantaged children and youth around the world through our portfolio of high-impact organizations that are working really hard on the ground and on the front lines during this global crisis. So first, a little bit of housekeeping. Today's chat will include an opportunity to ask our guest, Ben, your burning questions during the AMA. So please, as you think of your questions, add them to the questions tab or upvote the ones that you'd really love to see answered. So with that, over to you, Pak.
Thank you, Jennifer. Hi, everyone. Hi, Ben.
Hi.
And thank you for being with us today. My name is Pierre Arnold, aka Pak, and I'm in charge of EPIC for Benelux. So we are really excited to welcome Ben, on today's EPIC chat. Many of you, especially those in New York City, know him already as the co-founder of FitHouse and earlier of Stewart in Europe. But Benjamin will tell you more about that. Ben is also one of our amazing EPIC pledges. We've been getting some great questions about what the EPIC pledge is. Well, the EPIC pledge is for entrepreneurs. It's when the entrepreneurs want to make a promise to themselves to give a small percentage of their success from an exit to social good. It's not legally binding, so it's essentially a promise to yourself that if you succeed, you will give a little back to others and to those who are more vulnerable. So it's pretty simple, but it has a huge impact. Entrepreneurs and VC tell us that it's a great way to add purpose to your everyday. You also get to join an amazing community of pledgers, which includes wonderful people like Ben, but also Alex, the founder of Giphy, which many of you will know has announced they just been acquired by Facebook. Now, as many of you will know, at EPIC, we're all about giving back. For each webinar of our series, the speaker chooses one organization or from the 26 social organizations we have in the EPIC portfolio, all of which help vulnerable children and youth around the world. To build this portfolio, we run a VC-inspired due diligence to assess 4,000 charities, looking at 45 data points relating to impact, operations and organization, and governance. We've built a track record that shows that by connecting impact-driven donors to carefully vetted nonprofits, we can deliver the sort of systematic impact that's actually changing the lives of youth around the world. Today, Ben has chosen to support not one, but all of our 26 organizations, the entire portfolio. You will see now a link, donation pop-up on your screen. You can click on it and it will open a new window. It won't take you away from our EPIC chat. So please give what you can. $1, $10, $100, $1,000, any amount will do. And Ben, thank you so much for pledging for EPIC and for sharing your success. Hope you enjoyed the discussion, and I hand it back to you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Pak. So Ben, thanks for joining us today, especially since these are quite chaotic times. So really appreciate it. So these days, you're focusing your attention on the fitness space, but I want to take a step back to your previous startup first, called Stewart. So it was a B2B last mile delivery service that was acquired by the French Post 3 years ago. Can you tell us a little bit more about Stewart? Because you were really ahead of the game with the whole on-demand retail, and in some cases, you were, servicing clients like Carrefour in France, Burger King in the UK, And this was really before, Amazon's like same hour delivery became a thing. So what made Stuart so successful, and how did you come up with the idea?
Hi, Jennifer. So first of all, I would like to thank you very much for your invitation, and thanks Epic Foundation. You guys are doing just an incredible work at Epic, and I'm happy to be just one of the happy pleasure with you guys. So thank you very much for that. And I really encourage all my friends, entrepreneurs, and all the people that might gonna listen to this video to do the same. It makes a lot of sense, and as Pac just said, it gives a lot of purpose. So now about your question. So yeah, I moved in the US 2.5 years ago, and before that I was mainly based out of Paris, where I started this company named Stuart. What happened to me was quite interesting, because before Stuart, I was running with my business partner a company named Resto In, which was a precursor to Deliveroo, Uber Eats, in the sense that we were doing both a marketplace working with like thousands of restaurants and a logistic platform connecting them and connecting customers with a fleet of couriers. So by being very active in the food delivery industry, we had this vision of what was about to happen in any other industry. We knew about Amazon Prime Now before even it arrived in Europe. So we were like seeing it from French, and we were watching it. And we had this feeling that what we had put in place for the food delivery business for our previous company, Resto In, will make a lot of sense for any commerces, any retailers that wants to deliver goods within like 30-minute slots or on demand to their final customers. And that was like early 2014, 2015, when, we started to be asked by so many companies. They were like, how can we do the same? We would love to connect our customers to our store and just deliver them on demand. We had the knowledge, we had the tech, we had the experience. And so that's how it started.
Ah, interesting. Thank you. And I imagine by expanding beyond delivering food from restaurants, you avoid sort of the bottleneck of meal times, right? And you can kind of deliver throughout the whole day.
I was
have a smoother pipeline.
I was myself a courier. I was myself, delivering stuff. And with my business partner, we realized how crazy it was, because like sometimes during like just a couple of hours, we had like a lot of demand, but then a couple of hours later, it was nothing. And we had to deal with this like demand and offer problem equation. And that's we had this just simple idea of what if we had like this capacity to build one fleet of independent couriers and connect them to any kind of retailers, which gives us the opportunity to have eventually demands from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. all day long. And the more domain you get, the more you're in a capacity to offer a response, an answer to this. It's like a positive circle,
Right. It seems like you found the right formula, because you were able to scale Stuart to a number of cities and countries. So I'm wondering what worked, what didn't, and what advice you would have for founders that might be listening in who are looking to go global with their startups.
I think the most important thing when you want to scale a startup is talents, like hiring the right people and hiring them fast, trying not to make any mistakes in the way. And for that, you need also to have a good culture. That's the part that was tricky at Stuart. And I think we've been incredibly successful finding the right talents in 3 different markets pretty fast, because from between when we started to when we sold, only like 2 years happened, and we hired up to 200 employees in cities. That was crazy. And
wait, how many cities?
5 cities when I sold. As we speak, Stuart operates in more than 80 cities. So yeah.
80.
Yeah. So talents, I would say, is really the most important part. So really like focusing yourself very early on into building the operation and delegate, and then focus yourself into also bringing more customers and finding the right talent to keep scaling the company. If you are too focused in your daily operation, you can miss the part where you need to be in all those new cities you open to just, like implement the same culture and the same vision.
Yeah. So this word culture, when we spoke earlier, you had this really fun example of kind of empowering every employee to experience what it's like on the side of the courier, right? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it was what was interesting at Stuart is how like the culture was all around bikes. Like everyone was crazy about bikes, and one of our vision, our very early on vision, was to get rid of like transportation modes that require like cars and truck. We had them, but we were like mainly focusing ourselves into bikes, cargos, and walkers. And so as a result, everyone was invited. Every employee was invited to do delivery shifts as couriers, and that was great. So everyone, like starting with Stuart, was invited to try, and have this like one night experience as a courier. And more important, our operation team, not only once but a few times every month, they were invited to do so. And it was a great way also to receive from them like feedbacks on the app, on the operation, what was working, what was not working. But it's helped to build this culture around sports, bikes, and some values that we all share at Stuart.
Wow, that's great. And then one more thing that I remember from our conversation is that everyone that you employed was a shareholder in the company, right?
Yeah, that's something that I've implemented in all the companies I've been involved with. I think it makes a lot of sense. We are startups, we have like great ambition, but it doesn't work if everyone from the office manager to the operation manager to the finance person to the CEO, if everyone doesn't share the same vision and the same interests. So that's something that we had in mind like very early on. And I think this is super important. Yeah. Even in the house and, in the fitness scene, people were like very surprised when in New York I have introduced this new practice. I gave shares to trainers, to staff. Everyone was like, "What is that?" Like we have never heard about this option, and I think it's what makes the difference.
Yeah, it really stood out to me too. So I'm going to break my own webinar rules and pull in a question from the AMA right now because it has to do with hiring and building a team. So the question is, when you're recruiting 200 people in such a short time, what were your top criteria for selection? Because bad recruitment is complicated to resolve.
Yeah, I think it's about process, because at some point, if your companies are like successful, you can get a lot of incoming calls, you can receive a lot of resume, and you can get lost. So it's first of all, it's about like building the right process. I remember back then we were using a platform named Workable, very interesting platform. And we were really like treating recruitment as eventually you can treat sales, with like sales process and different rounds. So it was all about like doing this, like having these different steps, but making sure that they were like well respected. So we had a hiring person. So one of my first hire was actually a talent recruiter. So I had an in-house recruiter, and so she was in charge of like the first screening. And then we had like hiring manager. So every department was in charge of the second round of his department. So every head of department was in charge of the second round. And then we had a third round with the general manager, and then a fourth round with myself. And this way we kind of made sure that we had like different opinion on the person, really like sharing feedbacks between those rounds.
And eliminating bias that would otherwise exist if it was like one person, right?
Yeah, and so that this way, I mean, you reduce the chance to do a bad recruitment, but it always happens. And that's another part of the equation. When unfortunately someone is not a fit, it's okay. You just have to take the decision very fast. What is the problem is when you stay too long with someone that is not a fit, whether it's coming from him or from the company. It's sometimes you make mistakes, but that's another thing. You need to take a very fast decision, and it's tough, but it's something that we had to learn.
Got it. Thank you for sharing your advice on that. So I want to talk about FitHouse, which is the startup that you're leading now. So when we were chatting earlier, you said you love starting with a blank page.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what that means and what that mindset is all about?
I think when I sold Stuart to the French Post, then with my business partner Clément, we wanted to do something very different. So that's what, like made us decide to move in the US. So it was a new market, the US, a new space, the fitness. We didn't know anything about New York. We didn't know anything about the fitness, but we were just like two young guys. We liked doing fitness ourselves. So we feel like we must find a way to disrupt this industry. And that's the most exciting part, I think, of being an entrepreneur. It's, like those brainstorming crazy, those first
rooms and Post-its.
Yeah, it's exactly. And you start with an idea, and then you pitch 5, 10, 20 people, you're challenged by them, and then you realize that your idea is not the good one, and you have to change it and to tweak it till you get to the right one. And I think this is, to me, one of the most exciting journey in my experience, like having this opportunity to always brainstorm and find new ideas, which is kind of the situation, what is happening right now with COVID. We are all challenged. We all have to reinvent ourselves, change our business, our model, and find new ways to do what we've been doing before and reinvent ourselves. So that's exactly where I am right now. So I feel like I'm back to like brainstorming and finding the right way to keep doing my business, but in a different way.
Right. And that's a perfect segue to my next question. So Epic decided to launch this webinar series because we saw so many startups in our Epic Pledge community that were doing really amazing things to adapt to the new challenges brought on by COVID. Your story in particular really stood out. So I'd love for you to transport us back to that night when you heard that New York City was short 20 million hospital gowns and how you jumped into action.
Yeah, so beginning of March, I woke up one morning and I had 103.5 fever. So I was infected. I realized that I was infected and I self-quarantined myself. I lived with my fiancée, so we both did. And first of all, I realized that she and I, after a few weeks of being quarantined, we would potentially eventually be immune. So we would have this unique opportunity to get out of our apartment and help, and without taking the risk to get infected again. Thank God I was healthy, I'm young, I quit smoking 4 years ago, so I was not really at risk. So that's the first part. So we started to brainstorm about, all right, of course, I need to focus on my business and find new ways to scale it online, my fitness business. But beside that, what can we do as human beings? And so she comes from the fashion industry. She has over 15 years of experience working in New York in companies such as Ralph Lauren, Oscar de la Renta. And so she and her friends and colleague, Alex and Amy, they started to think about, well, what if we can make masks? And so they were in this brainstorming, and I was with them, supporting them.
You're infectious.
Exactly. And then I remember that night we saw this crazy announce from the Governor Cuomo, where he was saying that they were not only in shortage, in dire need of masks, but also gowns, respirators, ventilators, a lot of different stuff. And just about gowns, the need for the states of New York was estimated as 20 million. And back then, he announced that they had only 145K units. So they were missing over almost 20 million gowns was missing. And so we look at each other and she was like, we can make gowns, And so we started from that moment to do everything we could to start making gowns from New York City, because New York City is full of talents. You have the garment district, which is, for the people that don't know New York, it's like the Sentier in Paris. So you have all those crazy factories in the garment district. You have also a lot of factories in Brooklyn. You have sewers. So everything is possible. And that's how we started.
Wow, that's amazing. So now I'm curious. I mean, what was that first step from, brainstorming on the couch in front of the news to actually, putting a plan together? So
Rachel, which is my fiancée, Alex and Amy, they had those contacts of sewers. So they reached out to volunteers, sewers. And so the first batch of 300 gowns the first week was made by 60 sewers based in New Jersey. And they were working from home. That was crazy. So then I brought the idea of what if we should go online and do a GoFundMe page and like start raising, because everything was self-financed at the beginning. And so we launched this GoFundMe page, and before we knew, we had like $50,000 on this GoFundMe page, which is insane. And we started to so much support. Sorry.
Actually, let's pause for a minute. Some folks might not know what GoFundMe is.
Yeah.
So really quickly, it's like a crowdfunding website. So if you need something, you kind of put the story online, and then people have the option to donate. So GoFundMe, there's Kickstarter, there's Indiegogo, those types of crowdfunding platforms. So I'm glad it worked out for you and helped you get this idea off of the ground.
And that's how we actually spread the awareness of the initiative. And a lot of people like started to reach out, and they were like, how can we help? And then this law firm offer us like pro bono services to help us like build a nonprofit and build our contract and all the waiver and everything. And some companies, they started to offer us like fabrics and threads, and the whole thing became crazy. And very soon we realized that volunteers that were great, but it was not enough. So we explored with Rachel. They started to reach out to factories, and as we speak, so now 9 weeks from now, there are like 7 different factories working with Garment District for Gowns, which is the name of the nonprofit, and making this week almost 40,000 gowns per week, which is crazy, because when you get back to the initial need and the initial stockpile of New York, which was 145,000, we are now in a capacity to rebuild almost the stockpile in like 3 weeks. That's just insane. With coming from Alabama, the factories are based in New York, and the hospitals and healthcare department are in the US. So it's like 100% American manufacturing process. Right,
exactly. And you've gotten a lot of support from the city, the state. You also got like a state grant, right?
Absolutely. So
that kind of came back full circle.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of funny because that same night, so the Governor Cuomo, he shared his email address, and he said, if you get things you can help, just reach out. So following day, Rachel, she emailed this email, and she got in touch with Empire State Development, which is an organization linked to the state of New York. And they've been incredible. They've been so supportive the whole time, helping Garment District for Gown, connecting us with factories, with suppliers. And not only they did that, but they awarded Garment District for Gowns with a grant, $472,000, which has been a huge support and an incredible help to scale this operation.
That's a really incredible story of just an idea that was kind of hatched in front of the TV on the couch to what you're able to produce now with the help of so much local support and manufacturing power. So. And that's amazing. And then I think there was one more thing I read about Oscar de la Renta also supporting this effort as well, right? With like a percentage of their revenues from some line.
I think the whole fashion industry during this crisis step up and really try to help. In the specific case of Oscar, since the 3 co-founder of the nonprofit, they were coming from Oscar initially. Oscar offered them the support of like some percentage of sales they've done online, but that's great. They also helped. They gave like fabric, threads. They gave some materials. So that's been very helpful.
Very fancy surgical gowns.
Yeah.
Okay, so officially, I'm going to start pulling more AMA questions from the list. So one question is, what's a mistake that you made, either with Stuart or FitHouse, or this whole process of producing gowns that you can share and that we can learn from?
So one mistake that I maybe made at Stuart back then, I think it was very tough for us to have our tech team and our operation not next to each other at the beginning. Basically, we had our whole tech office based out of Barcelona in Spain, which was great in terms of quality of life. But the first city we opened was Paris. So having, like operation and tech should always be very connected, because every feedback coming from the operation will help the tech to improve the product. I think we've lost a lot of time. So I would say if you aim to build a company with the project of scaling it very fast in many cities, you need to make sure that the first city is like locked, that the product.
Right, it's like your core HQ.
Exactly. And the core HQ is very important. So you want to have the very like first product, like you want to improve the product within the same office with the same city at the beginning. So I think that's the problem of scaling maybe too fast, too fast, I would say. So yeah, maybe walk before run. That would be good advice.
Walk before running. That's good advice. Okay, so another popular question. This goes back to how you've sort of engaged your employees with the shareholder offer, and so Camille is asking, do you think that the Epic Pledge is a way to engage employees similar to offering, stakes in your startup?
More than that, I think the Epic Pledge is an opportunity also to engage customers. We have started the conversation with Epic. We still have to finalize this conversation because that's something we wanted to add day one. We have started this conversation to see how we can also have a percentage of our revenue coming from customers as part of a different pledge, and that's something that I think will engage customers. As a customer, if you join a company like FitHouse or fitness routine, you will definitely appreciate knowing that maybe if you pay like $35 per month for an online platform, that maybe $1 of 50 cents is going back to a foundation. That's something that people will appreciate. So I think it's a mix. Like with the pledge, you have like so much opportunity. You can engage your customers, you can engage your employees, you can also engage your investors. So yeah, I think that's why we are very happy to be part of this. And thank you again, Alexander, for offering us this huge opportunity.
I'll give you a call after this webinar. But yeah, thank you so much for believing in the pledge and thinking about how we can further partner to help the kids that are really struggling right now. So there's another question I thought was really good. You've started a business in both France and the US. Have you found significant differences when starting a company between both countries?
Yeah, cost. Like if you want to start in the US, trust me, it's more costly. So
in terms of salary,
everything,
facilities, everything.
It starts from lawyer fees to like finding an office, broker fees. Like everything is very costly here. I think in France you have an amazing opportunity to find investors, seed investors, early investors. Where it gets tricky in France, it's finding like investor for your like Series B or Series C or Series D. There are obviously like less money there and more like corporate venture, like big company, big groups investing in companies. While in New York, you have like an amazing VC space, super dynamic. But the difference is just like at the very beginning of an adventure, be careful. In the US, you have like so much opportunity, but it's a long run. So be careful with your cash burn. We got surprised when we started here, like how like everything was so crazy expensive. So just like be careful here, but then the opportunity is also like, but eventually 10 times bigger.
No pain, no gain. So this is a good segue to my last question. What advice would you give to founders who are pivoting or working on a new business idea or looking to start a new startup during these tough times?
So people pivoting, I would say, be open-minded, which means if you had to basically get rid of everything you've been doing so far, do it. Don't be too like attached to something you've been running for like a year or 2 years. This is a new chapter of our lives. Everything is going to be different. People are now willing to do things they were not willing to do in the past. So be open-minded and accept this evolution, and don't stay stuck in the past with whatever you were working on. And to people that are about to start a company even more, there are like so much opportunities right now. Unfortunately, this crisis is a disaster, but it's also an opportunity. There are like new stuff.
There's a lot of need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But before launching your enterprise, your business, your adventure, find the right partner. I think like team is everything. So you need to find the right partner, take the time for that because it's a long run. It can take 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So just like find the right person to do this with.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of founders say that it's like getting married. Yeah. Got to make sure you find the right partner that's going to be there with you for the long haul.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So thank you so much for sharing all of these insights, this advice, and just what you, your fiance, and her, team have been able to do from scratch to producing 30,000 gowns per week here in New York City. It really just blows my mind. So thank you for sharing that super inspirational story. To all of the viewers listening in today, thank you so much for joining us. You might see a pop-up on your screen in a minute, but it's just a reminder to sign up for next week's webinar chat. So same day, same time. It's with Jean de la Roche-Brochard. Still working on my French. He's a partner at Chemla Ventures, which invests in 100 new deals a year at a rate of about 2 to 3 per week, which is pretty incredible. So he will be talking about, his take on COVID and how that's impacting the investment landscape. And then last but not least, please stick around for an extra 5 seconds. You'll see a bit of a Super Bowl commercial about the Epic Pledge. Promise we're a really cool community focused on helping you weave purpose and purpose. Please stick around for an extra seconds, check out the pledge, and reach out to us if you would like to join the crew. You can ping us at epicpledge@epic.foundation. So with that, everyone, thank you, Ben. Stay safe. Stay healthy, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.